Hollywood used to compete by making better movies. Now studios are trying to survive by buying each other before the whole system collapses. This Warner Brothers and Paramount merger doesn't feel like a victory lap. It feels like the industry hitting the panic button. Welcome back to Catalyst Corner. I'm Evan.
I'm Jim.
We talk pop culture, fandoms, and the business behind them. Not all hype, not all hate, just honest takes. We run a small creative business, so we're not just fans. We're watching how the machine actually works. So let's get into the breakdown. So this week I wanted to discuss the big merger, the latest big merger,
right?
Between Warner Brothers Pictures and Paramount Pictures. So originally, this merger had come to be that Warner Brothers was going to merge with Netflix,
right?
And it was a $70 billion buyout, and Netflix was pretty confident in all that. They sent out emails to every subscriber. They were pretty confident that this merger was going to go through. They were gearing up to do the congressional hearings and everything. And then Paramount Skydance, I guess it is now, right?
Yep.
Was obviously taken over by the Ellison family, right? Very deep pockets. Oracle is the backbone of their fortune. And everyone, they made their offer. It was a shittier offer than Netflix had made. It got shut down, and it almost feels like, at least in my opinion, it comes across as very rich kid syndrome. Like,
sure.
He was told, this is David Ellison's son, or Larry Ellison's son, David. Grew up in luxury, right?
Right.
Has probably never been told no.
Sure.
And decided that he was going to get Warner Brothers no matter what. And so they made an offer. Comes out to $110 billion.
Yeah.
And that covers the Netflix fee, because they had signed the ink wasn't dry, but the ink
they had a $3 billion walkaway fee if they decided to go elsewhere.
Clause, yeah. So they're covering that, and a lot of people in the industry are saying this is a grossly overvalued merger.
Sure.
And it kind of makes you sort of scratch your head about why this came to be. So I think the first point of the breakdown is, this is what I've come up with.
Okay.
So first and foremost, I think the streaming wars burned everyone.
Sure.
A few years ago, every company thought, hey, streaming is the future. In order to stay relevant with our customer base, we have to have a streaming service. Instead of maybe, pivoting and focusing on the quality of their content and then selling that content to, the big 2 or 3 streaming services out there, we had HBO Max that then got changed to Max, that then got changed to HBO Max again. There's Paramount Plus, there's Disney Plus, there's Peacock, there's Netflix, there's Hulu, there's AMC Plus, there's Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
I mean, the list goes on, right?
Yeah.
And for a while it worked, I think. I think Wall Street was looking good. The subscriber numbers looked huge.
Well, they thought that was the future as well. Wall Street also predicted that was the wave of the future. So yeah, everything was looking great at a time, especially during the COVID situation, because everything got grossly inflated, which, again, had it not been for COVID, those numbers probably would never have happened, but they did happen. And so I think that everybody anticipated that it was never going to stop at that point, that once they got a taste of it, because they had to, because of the situation, it was never going to go back. And that did not happen to end up being the case.
And then the other half of that coin is the cost of content exploded. Right? We went from making, $50 to $70 million projects to everything is $100 to $300 million to make.
Exactly.
Right? Subscribers, the pandemic ended, so subscriber growth slowed. And then the profit became the issue. And we saw them try to mitigate that, right? They cracked down on password sharing. The prices go up every year. And, that helps a little bit, but it's not enough. Some of these ships are hemorrhaging.
Right.
And those tools that they're using are not enough to sort of fix it and right the ship.
No.
Which, getting back into the Warner Brothers and Paramount situation, both of these companies are loaded with debt.
Oh, tremendous amount.
And this is the ugly business side that audiences don't think about, right? But you have Warner Brothers Discovery that was originally Warner Brothers.
Yep.
Shopped out to AT&T. AT&T bought them.
Yep.
Saddled a bunch of their debt onto Warner Brothers.
Right.
And then sold them to Discovery. So this is something you see that happens with a lot of like private equity firms as well. Is they'll pick up these businesses, saddle them with debt, bankrupt them, and then sell them off piecemeal. So this is basically the playbook that happened with Warner Brothers. Is they got picked up by a fucking telecommunications company which has no business owning a movie studio.
Sure, absolutely.
The telecommunications company saddles them with debt. Then they get sold to Discovery, which was already floundering.
Right.
And so now you have this Warner Discovery that's sitting on $32.56 billion in debt. And then there's Paramount.
Right.
Paramount is sitting close to $80 billion in debt. And now you're talking about a $110 billion play for Warner Brothers to buy a piece of machinery that's $32 billion in debt. So you're accruing an insane amount of debt to pick up these properties. And I don't, it doesn't feel like these are thriving companies, right? And so them combining is not going to stop the bleeding of either one of them.
No, not anytime soon anyway.
No, I mean, it does give them a massive library. It does give them a massive amount of content. I would assume that either HBO or Paramount Plus is going to absorb into the other.
Right, yeah, they'll just become one and probably have a new name altogether, but yeah. That'll happen. But I think that the only saving grace is, are you going to be good stewards to the IP? Because that's the only thing that's going to save you and pull you out of, or any chance of pulling you out of debt is, now that you've, do the opposite of what Disney did. Instead of buying the IPs and destroying them and destroying their value, are you going to buy these IPs, even with the heavy debt, and then turn them into profit to hopefully chip away at that debt, which is going to take many years to do?
But that's the only thing that will chip away at it. It's not like you didn't have a movie studio and you're buying a movie studio. You had Paramount. You have the Paramount lot. You have the locations in Hollywood.
Right.
You have the ability to churn out movies. So it's not like, oh, I want to get into the movie business.
Right.
I got to buy a movie studio. You had one.
Yeah, you already had that.
So the only thing you're really buying that's going to be of any value to you is the IP.
Right. Yeah, that's it. For sure. And I mean, and to be fair, they're quite valuable IPs.
Sure, I think if done right,
well, yeah, that's the whole trick of it all.
It's a deep catalog, right? And I think what's interesting is, this merger is more akin, at least in my eyes, to Disney Fox than it is Disney Marvel or Disney Lucasfilms. Because Marvel and Lucasfilms, much smaller studios, right? A wealth of IPs, right?
Right.
But again, when Disney picked up Fox, that is a massive...
Right.
It's a movie studio as well as a deep well of IPs.
Yeah, and you add television on top of it. Yeah, they're much, much deeper.
Right. So I think this is more akin to that type of a merger than say, just scooping up valuable IPs like Marvel and Lucasfilms had, where there wasn't really sort of the weight of a century-old movie studio behind those two properties.
Right.
But it's very interesting to see what his plan is. And I mean, obviously, nothing is truly set in stone yet because there's still a lot of legal hurdles. But, again, I can't, it's hard to see what the end game is when you have a company that was $32 billion in debt, a company that's $80 billion in debt, that somehow is able to absorb the first company, even though they're floundering in debt, which is only going to raise that debt through the ceiling. Like, I don't know what the end game is. Does he run it into the ground and then piecemeal sell it off, or is it actually going to be able to stabilize?
I think that I think it can stabilize if you do something with the IPs that you're inheriting. And that goes with Paramount too. I mean, you have the Star Trek IP that is a big IP that you need to turn around, and then of course you're getting some of the WB property as well. So you've got things like DC, you've got things like Hanna-Barbera, you've got things like Looney Tunes, right? You've got massive IPs.
You have Harry Potter,
right? Harry Potter, that's a giant one. So you have now IPs that could potentially bring you out of the basement that you're in and bring it back to the heights, but it's how you treat the IPs and what you do with them going forward that's really going to make or break whether you are successful or, you end up getting even deeper in debt and then selling it off for piecemeal.
So I think another interesting point to all of this is the consolidation. I think the reason we're seeing, because again, the Hollywood is getting smaller and smaller, right? And part of that consolidation is because mid-level success is dying, if not dead.
Sure.
Movies used to have room to be modest hit, a cult classic, or a slow burner. And now it makes $1 billion or it's a failure.
Right.
And as a result of that, what we're seeing is we're flooded with giant franchises. We're flooded with reboots.
Yeah.
We're flooded with nostalgia plays. Perfect example, Top Gun Maverick, right?
Yep.
It succeeds, and it's huge.
Yep.
But how many smaller films in that time frame are also allowed to pick up some of that box office? Not even box office. Take box office off the table, because last episode, like we said, the movie experience has shifted.
Right.
But just from a view count, people are watching Top Gun Maverick. That's a big bookend movie. And all the smaller stuff is just getting lost in the shuffle or just not even being made at this point.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to get something like a Project Hail Mary every now and again that all of a sudden does something much larger than anticipated, right? You're going to get those here and there, but it's not the norm. That is a surprise to people. The success of that is a shock. And, back before, it wasn't. That was an expectation. A smaller budget movie, not as well known, not an IP that's, already has 4 movies out, what have you. Brand new title. Not a lot of people know about it. Maybe a lot, some people have read the book. Probably most haven't. But all of a sudden, this becomes this big hit. And it's like, yeah, we have, those still exist or can exist. The problem is people are taking less and less chances on making those because they anticipate them not to succeed. So they stick with the known IPs.
The business model used to be, it was all, not to use a baseball analogy, right? But Hollywood used to survive on singles.
Sure.
And now they're swinging for the fences with every single property that comes out.
Right.
And it's just like, and even the more obscure stuff, right, that's coming out is still $80 to $100 million budgets.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just insane to me because $30 to $50 million was the sweet spot. And then if you had a good picture, you could net anywhere from $150 to $300 million. And because the cost was so low, you could replicate that. And every week you had a movie coming out.
Right.
And every couple weeks, and you would have those hits and get the batters on the bases. And then you would take your swing in the summertime or around the holiday season with a big budget film, $250 million film, And usually those would be billion-dollar franchises.
Yep.
But, now you're getting 3 or 4 different Marvel movies every year. You're getting at least one Tom Cruise movie every year. And, even
DC's getting into the mix now.
Right,
of
now DC's
2 or 3 every year.
Right. So it's just, and now Lord of the Rings is coming back into the picture, right? They're doing that hunt for Gollum, and now there's plans to write even further. And that's the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings, not the Amazon one. So, like, they're trying to milk that, too. So it's just the smaller budget picture, just doesn't really exist anymore. And
no.
I was a real proponent for A24 because they were doing that.
Right.
And they were hitting a lot of,
Yeah, great success on a lot of their stuff.
But now, because they've done so well, they're putting out that Elden Ring film next year at $100 billion. $100 million for the budget, which is the biggest budget they've ever had, right? Like Marty Supreme was the biggest budget. Now it's $100 million. So the ballooning budgets are crazy. And to wrap it back to Paramount, David Ellison is talking about releasing 36 to 40 movies a year.
Right.
If you're you're talking about at $100 million a piece, those are crazy. $4 billion. That's crazy numbers.
Yeah, I don't foresee that being truthful. I think that's, hyperbolic to say that is even realistic. But that being said, if some of those are going to be, horror movies, right? Because WB has done a good job on that for the last couple years. So if you can make a few 50... I'm going to say that because of inflation, because of technology, it might be like $75 million now.
50 to 75 is probably
more realistic
is probably the new sweet spot for the low budgets.
So if you can make, a bunch of movies like that get into theaters and have profitability, okay, then you can make the big blockbusters as well. But I just don't think that you can do 40 of them per year. I just think that is an outrageous type of... if you're saying 20, maybe...
Sure, 20 seems like a real number.
Yeah, that could be done. And maybe, 10 of those, maybe 5 of those are $150 million, and the rest of them are between 50 to 75. Okay, I think you could do that and make profit. But if you're talking about, I'm going to just make, I'm going to try to replicate what Disney does at whatever cost, I don't care, and I'm going to put out 20 movies a year that all have $200+ million budgets. Oh, I mean, that's not going to be sustainable. You'll be gone in a couple years.
Well, here's the problem with it all, right? So if this merger actually goes through, Paramount Skydance is going to own Harry Potter, which they already have a planned 7-season series coming out that is hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah. With season 2 officially greenlit.
Right, already in the books. And so they're going to own Harry Potter.
Yep.
That's going to be a very expensive TV show, right? So you're already off to a huge property that you're rebooting right as you're taking over Warner Brothers.
Right.
They're going to own Lord of the Rings, which again you have a movie in the works. Not a low budget movie for Lord of the Rings, with more on the way. Mission Impossible.
Yep.
Which again, huge budget, but that's usually a safe bet. Mission Impossible generally is.
Yeah.
Again, it's a Tom Cruise vehicle. For whatever reason, he's still able to bring people into the theater. I think the last one did over $1 billion.
Yeah, it's
do well overseas.
Yeah, it's pretty. You're pretty safe with that.
They're going to own South Park.
Yep.
They're going to own Game of Thrones. They're going to own Transformers.
Yep.
They're going to have the sports and the news assets that come along with this merger is huge.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And at some point, these companies stop feeling like movie studios and start feeling like content empires.
Sure.
And we saw that happen with Disney. And everything was fine at the beginning with Disney.
Sure.
But now that there's been some time, we see that these content behemoths churn out more garbage than they do hits.
Yeah. And I think that, what's going to be the big factor is who Ellison is going to start putting in charge of these properties that are going to be overseeing them, the studio heads that are going to be overseeing these things, because that's ultimately where Disney failed. The people in charge made horrible decisions that ultimately led to the destruction of all these great IPs that Iger purchased. And Ellison needs to learn the lesson of Iger that, yes, you're in charge. You have to be in charge of the budgets and what gets greenlit, but you also have to be in charge of who you're putting in charge to oversee these properties. It can't be just you alone. Obviously, you've got to put people in place to run these studios and to make sure that the things that are being put out stay within a budget and are actually something that could turn a profit and not alienate all the fans like Disney has done.
But I think the concern, at least in my eyes, and I think a lot of people have voiced this concern, is that because Paramount was so deep in debt when they purchased Warner Brothers, right? You basically took a starving animal and made it even hungrier.
Sure.
And now it's like, okay, I have all the pieces in place. Now I have to start eating the food, and it's going to do whatever it can to get as much food as possible.
Sure.
So the concern is that we're going to get people that don't belong in positions running these properties. They're going to churn out an insane amount of content, good or bad, just because, again, they're trying to recuperate these massive losses as quickly as possible. And we saw that happen with Warner Brothers. When the last Mortal Kombat game came out, the one before that was a huge success.
Yep.
Right? This one was a half-baked mess, but because of the goodwill from the last game, it still ended up being a huge success. But now people are going, well, wait a minute.
Right.
I was had on this one because it was half-baked. And so people are looking at that and going like, okay, so what's the plan? You're going to churn out another half-baked Mortal Kombat? Like,
Right. Yeah, you can do that once. You can fool people to buy an inferior product once because you have goodwill built up, but they're not going to allow it a second time.
and the tricky thing with that is, right? The tricky thing with that is, even if the next product that they churn out is not half-baked, you fooled your audience.
Right.
So they're still going to look at that and go, I don't know. So
Yeah, it's got to be really good to be like, okay, something happened the last time. Benefit of the doubt. This clearly is right back to the quality that we were expecting. You can, if you do that, people will get back on board rather quickly, and good word of mouth will certainly help making sure everybody comes back.
Mortal Kombat is a huge property for them because you get to double dip on that, right? I mean, the second movie comes out.
Yeah, it's coming soon.
Tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow?
May 8th is the second movie. So the second movie comes out tomorrow. It's already got 77 on Rotten Tomatoes, which is huge for a video game movie. Right? So you have goodwill on that, right? The team that makes Mortal Kombat, the rumor mill now is that they are working on Injustice Part 3.
Okay.
Which I think the risk of that is what happens with DC when this merger goes through.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to leave things the way that they are, right? Because we just got the Clayface trailer. Looks very interesting. If you're going to let Gunn do what he's doing, fine. But if you're going to scorch the earth and start over, then I think it's difficult to, because video games make money.
Yeah.
So, are you going to hurt, in your eyes, does resetting the DC universe help or hurt in the long run? And I think it hurts, honestly.
Yeah, I think that they're going to... I mean, what's already planned is going to come out, right? So we're going to get the Lantern series. We're going to get Supergirl. We're going to get Clayface, right?
Are we going to get Man of Tomorrow, though, is the question.
Well, so that's the thing, right? I think we probably will, because I know they're going to start shooting that soon, so more than likely it'll happen. But I think that Gunn is on a prove it that you can do it type of deal right now. Like,
Well, I don't foresee Supergirl, I think even if it's a good film, which it looks fine.
It could go either way, really.
I don't think it's going to blow the box office up.
I don't think it can, because it's not the character that has the ability to do that. And that's part of what I don't understand about James Gunn is, you started off with Creature Commandos, which was an animated series, which didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Why would you start animated? Because you're not going to get the audience for an animated show.
I think it's just an easy, cheaper, sort of proof of concept of what you're trying.
But it didn't do well because it's an animated show that not a lot of people are going to tune into.
Right.
Because it's an animated show. So
it wasn't a bad show, though.
No. But you made a mistake with starting right out of the gate by choosing animation first. It's like, okay, then we go to Superman, and it's like, okay, we can have all our differences of opinion on Superman. We've kind of talked Superman to death. But now you've got a Green Lantern series where we've seen the trailers. The trailers are not doing well as far as, the fans' anticipation for it. You showed the trailer, you showed the costume. The costume looked brown, it looked dark, it looked dirty, and people are like, yeah, this doesn't look at all like Lanterns. I don't know if it's going to be good. You did Peacemaker Season 2, which made no sense, because you really should have just, not try to mix and match.
No, you're cherry
the old
picking.
to
You're
the
the picking from
and
the
it
old
did
and the new.
extremely poorly in the ratings, and the fans hated it. Now you're going to go to Supergirl, which again is not a big property. Supergirl is not a pillar of the DC universe.
No, I mean the only thing that I think might get fans excited is Lobo.
Sure, and that's going to be the key to this. Lobo is going to be the seller to this movie, more so than Supergirl. Lobo's depiction is going to be more of the fan word of mouth than anything else that this movie is going to have.
So DC, we would say, is on shaky ground.
Very
right now.
shaky ground, and
Right.
I think James, and I said this a while back. I was 85% out on James Gunn. I'm about 98% out on James Gunn right now. I don't think he's the right guy. I think he's a guy. I don't think he's the guy.
Right. I mean, you're right. I'm sure there is the guy that they could get. Maybe it's not James Gunn.
Right.
Because, again, I think what we're seeing with James Gunn, right, is very much like what we saw with Taika Waititi in that, like, as a one and done, it kind of works.
Sure.
But then when you're saturated with it, it's like, oh, well, what I thought was kind of quirky is kind of annoying, actually.
Right.
And I think we're seeing that with James Gunn, too, is that, like, yes, in small bites, James Gunn works very, very well. But when it becomes oversaturated, you start to veer into that, well, this is kind of fucking annoying territory.
Right. And I also think, like Taika Waititi, James Gunn, you cannot have them have final say. Like, they've got ideas and concepts that aren't bad.
They can make solid movies, but they can't run a studio.
Right. But I think you have to have somebody overseeing them and saying, okay, that's too far this way, bring it back.
So we have DC, which is one of their biggest properties in this merger. That's on shaky ground right now.
Yep.
We have NetherRealm, which is the Mortal Kombat, which is that's their real big property, right? From the video game world. They own a bunch of other stuff too, but like Mortal Kombat is usually one of their bigger, who had a successful launch of the last game, but released a half-baked mess. Again, not proven, but I assume that Zaslav forced that out before it was ready.
Probably.
And so now you got these boys on shaky ground, right? Your next biggest property, you have Harry Potter.
Yep.
They released the trailer.
That's not...
The trailer did not do well.
No.
So the thing is aside from the fact that it got ratioed, and I watched the trailer, right? And there are bits and pieces that I go, oh yeah, it's kind of there, but the music is not. And that can be fixed. Like,
Sure.
Don't get me wrong, you can fix the issues, but it feels like the original Harry Potter felt like a magical fantasy experience.
Yep.
And this feels like a corporate cookie cutter, cut out, sanitized version of that. So the trailer got ratioed to death. And then they released a behind the scenes on HBO, which makes you scratch your head because the show isn't even coming out for a minute.
Right. Yeah, it's not till Christmas.
So it makes you go, why would they release? They're releasing a behind the scenes to try to get the audience back on board. Like, hey, look at all the fantastical world building we're doing.
Sure.
But I don't know that that's going to work. And again, the jury's still out on Harry Potter. It may come out. It may be the greatest thing ever. It's been greenlit for season 2.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the contracts are already in order, where if it were to go to 7, they already have everyone locked in and everything.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. I mean, that's I think it was risky to do it because it's one of those movies that, much like Lord of the Rings, would be very, very hard to remake. in my opinion.
Yeah, I think with Harry Potter, it might be a little bit of fool's gold, right? You might see a massive viewership, but that doesn't mean it's good and that people liked it. But people tuned in because they want to see it, and just because
I think
the Nielsen ratings will look good doesn't mean it's good.
I think regardless of how well it does, right? I think that the cultural sphere that we live in now, I don't think Harry Potter 2.0 is going to hit the way Harry Potter 1.0 hit, where it is ingrained into people's psyche. It's part of a lot of people's personalities, right? I don't think, even if this is the greatest retelling, it's more accurate to the books, everything hits. I don't think that exists anymore. I don't think there are properties that become, as ingrained in society as Harry Potter 1.0 did.
Right.
So even if it's a win, I don't think it's going to be the win that they're, I think they're sitting in their fucking offices going like, this is Gen Alpha and whatever the younger generation is. They're going to be as ingrained as millennials and Gen Z were to Harry Potter, and I just don't think that's true.
No, I don't think so either. I think you'll get people that watch it for nostalgia.
Sure.
I think you'll get some people that
you'll get some young,
that
you'll
have never seen Harry Potter that are going to want. Right. You'll get all of that, but I don't think it's going to be a cultural phenomenon. I think it's just going to be a good show or a bad show, and that's it.
And the other thing is if it is big, right? It has to so eclipse the original.
Yeah.
Right? Because otherwise all you're doing is muddying and confusing the waters. And what I mean by that is, like, for example, Universal Studios has the Harry Potter lands, right? Well, now that this new show is coming out, are we switching to the new Harry? Is this going to be new Harry Potter or old Harry Potter, right? And if this show is a dumpster fire, you stay with the old one, right?
Right.
But if the show is good, is it that much better than the first one that you're willing to rip down everything that made Harry Potter World what it is to kind of put this, these new faces, these new kids?
You have to. That's the problem.
I know you have to.
Well, but that's the problem.
But not if it fails. You don't have to.
But the thing is, you are going to do it before you know it's going to fail. Because you have to align it.
Yeah, but I don't think so. Because
I do.
Is Universal doing it now?
No, but
right. So it's going to take longer than 6 months to refit everything.
But I agree. But here's the problem, and this is and this goes to part of the problem, like with Marvel, right? Especially if you're going to sell merchandise to children, if they don't know about. If they're not familiar with the original and they want to go buy a Harry Potter toy and it doesn't look like the Harry Potter that they just watched, well, they're not going to buy that Harry Potter. It's like, well, who's that? I know it's Harry Potter, but that's nothing to the Harry Potter that I love. And it's just like when I say Marvel, it was the same thing. Kids watched the Marvel movies, went in to get a comic book, and it's like that's nothing similar.
Right, that's nothing to do. These stories aren't the stories that I just watch on the screen.
So there is that continuity that you need, and I think that if you don't make everything the new Harry Potter, you're going to hurt your merchandise, and you're going to have market confusion for the younger kids that you're trying to sell that merchandise to, and again,
if I was Universal,
have already bought it.
If I was Universal, I'd be pissed.
Sure.
Because, you're gambling on a sure thing. Mm-hmm. You're gambling on a sure thing to try to pull in a younger audience. And whether it works or it doesn't, it would have to so engross Harry Potter 1.0 because the millennials are so tied to that franchise,
Yeah,
right?
I think that they probably won't do anything structurally, but they will merchandise wise. They'll remove Harry Potter 1.0 and replace everything with Harry Potter 2.0. Even like, I don't know if there's people that walk around but like that as well. I think that maybe structurally, whatever's built, they're not going to touch yet because that's going to be a little bit daunting. But I don't think but I think that if you, in Universal, I think that at Christmas time, when this show comes out, if you walk into a Universal Harry Potter merchandise store, it's going to be all 2.0.
Okay, so you have you have DC on shaky ground. You have Harry Potter, which is a huge gamble,
right?
Unnecessary gamble too, but a huge one. You have Mission Impossible, which I think is safe.
Yep.
South Park is very safe.
Yeah.
But then you have Game of Thrones.
Yep.
And Game of Thrones is in a very strange spot, right? Because the Game of Thrones extended universe seems to be doing okay.
Right.
But obviously the main title is no one talks about it. It's hot garbage. But for whatever reason, they've been able to keep that property going.
Yeah, but even that, right? I mean, House of Dragon, I think this is it, right? They got one season left of that, and that's gone.
And then you'll do, another season of the Knights of the Seven Kingdom.
And then I don't know if they have anything planned after that.
Right, that's the thing, is how long are the legs of sort of the Game of Thrones IP, right? Like, again, if the series was a home run initially, maybe you could keep squeezing out extended universe content. But my guess is that, like, you'll get your House of Dragons, and maybe it's great. Maybe it ends on a high note. Everybody really likes it. Like, but that's a side story. Yeah. So it's not your main. It's never going to be enough to keep Game of Thrones going.
No, I think that's just going to become a merchandise thing. I think that it's not going to be on TV or movies or anything like that. I mean, maybe they'll make a movie, who knows? But I think that that's just going to be a merchandise producer after these shows end, because I don't see that. Like, you've gotten lucky. The Game of Thrones last couple seasons didn't do well, but House of Dragons have done well. The Knights of the Seven Kingdoms is doing well.
Yep.
I don't know if you can. How much can you get out of that? Right.
Right.
So, but merchandise-wise, you could probably keep that going for a while.
And then you have Transformers, which I think, honestly, is due for a reboot.
Yeah.
I think the right play for that is to reboot the series, start us fresh. No more of this, like, Bumblebee. It needs to be fresh. We need a.
Let me tell you, if they take the comic books that are being put out by Image Skybound and they adapt that to the movies, billions.
Well, easier said than done.
It is. But the thing is, the story is now there. The comic books are the top, one of the top selling comic books of last year. It's top seller so far again this year. So you have 30 plus comics out right now. If you adapt that, the story is there. You don't have to try to figure it out. You could bring Transformers back and make it very big in the movie theaters again if you adapt these books.
But that's the thing, to bring it back to the original point. This merger is creating a giant corporation. I mean, You're talking about, we just rattled off huge properties, and it really is going to come down to who's running the show, who's writing the stories, and are you bringing in the original fan base, or are you isolating?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even talked about Star Trek,
right?
You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is from Paramount that,
Right. It's not. Paramount has properties.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the same amount of properties
No.
as a Warner Brothers, but it has some pretty huge properties. So, I think the biggest challenges for this merger are you're coming into it with a ton of debt.
Yep.
And if you give into that fear of we have to start recuperating at any cost, what you're going to do is you're going to take your sure thing properties and you're going to bury them into the dirt. A
Right.
lot like with what Disney did. So the last point on this merger is the real fear of this coming to fruition is that there'll be less competition.
Sure.
You're talking about less creative risks, more franchise dependence, and there's just less room for weird original projects is what you end up with. And, we're down to what? We have Disney, Sony, Warner Brothers Discovery,
Yep.
Paramount, Netflix, I guess, if you want to. I mean, that's
Which
not really a
don't
Hollywood.
put into theaters, yeah.
It's not really a Hollywood studio.
And then you got your smaller, little offshoot
sure,
studios, but
those guys could get scooped up at any
Right.
moment. So we went from being like 8 studios to 4.
yeah. But here again, if Paramount and the merger goes through and they cultivate these IPs and bring them back to prominence, then they can rely on that evergreen property, which
Right.
Disney should have done, and then they can take those chances again. But you have to get your foundation built again, and there is no foundation to any of those giant IPs right now.
No.
But you have to build them back up, and if they do the proper job and they do that, then yes, they could take their chances, make the smaller movies, take more obscure properties and make them into something. But you have to get the massive IPs back performing at the billion-dollar status that they used to be or could have been at one point when they started.
I think the fear, though, at least in my eyes, is that if 5 companies own everything, then culture is going to start to feel manufactured.
Sure, there's always a fear of that, and that's going to happen because again, you're hearing less voices, or there's less voices allowed to be heard. So it's going to feel like, okay, we're only getting this and this and this because that's all that there is and that's all that there's allowed to be. And the hope is that some of these other, some other smaller studios are going to start picking up, and you'll get some hits. But the massive IPs are owned by the massive companies, and they have done a terrible job for the most part of keeping those massive IPs, funneling through Hollywood to allow those smaller creatives to have an opportunity. And that's why Hollywood is just about dead, because it's unsustainable now.
Well, the scary thing isn't that Hollywood's changing so much, because Hollywood has always changed with
Sure.
the times. I think the scary thing is that it kind of feels like the industry is shrinking, and when budgets keep getting bigger and bigger, like something's going to have to give eventually.
Sure.
All right. So that's the breakdown for this week. Let's go into off the cuff.
Okay.
You want to go first or second today?
I'll go first.
All right. What do you got?
I'm really tired. Really tired.
You're getting the fatigue.
Of 20-something-year-olds writing articles about, oh, this movie wouldn't fly today, or we couldn't make this today, or this movie didn't age well. Look, movies from the past are not meant to be looked at through a modern day lens.
Not at all.
And if you weren't there at the time these movies came out, you don't have any business judging other than, well, maybe the technology isn't as good. Maybe the CGI isn't as good. Maybe the sound quality isn't as good. Those things you can talk about. The meat and potatoes of the movie, if you weren't around at the time and know the cultural relevance of those movies, you have no business writing articles about, oh, this could not be made today. Go fuck yourself. Why are these movies always on? Flip through the channels, and these movies are always on because they will always be accepted. They will always be beloved. And that's the thing. Like, I like watching old movies, right? Well,
so
before my time.
So do I.
I do not look at a movie from the 50s and try to look at it through any lens. I take it for what it was at the time it was made, and I look at it for the pure enjoyment of that movie. I do not try to say, oh, we can't do that anymore. No, it doesn't matter. Yeah, maybe. And we'll see. When Scary Movie 6 comes out, we'll see if you can't do that shit anymore, because I guarantee you can. You're just too soft and too progressive to say that these things can't be done. They can.
I would take it even like a step further, right? Is that, like, here's a perfect example for me. Casablanca is a great film.
Sure.
Right? Mm-hmm. Masterpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah, he slaps her in that movie, right? That would never fly today.
No.
But I still enjoy the film.
Right.
And again, whether it was good or bad that happened, it was bad, right? I think we can all agree that was a bit, shouldn't be hitting each other. But it was of that time.
Right.
Right? So I don't look at that and go, oof, we could never do that today. Like, I don't understand why we're doing hit pieces on old movies.
Right. And that's exactly my point, is if you don't understand what the time was and what the world was like at that time, you don't have any right or any knowledge base to go off of that you could write these articles and say, oh, that we can't do that today. No. There might be some things you'd have to tone down, but no, you can. There's a reason why those movies, like I said, are still on every day.
Here's the other half of that, though, right? Is that you couldn't do Saw back then.
Sure.
Right? So that's the thing, is like that, there are certain things that you can't do that you could do in older films, but that goes tenfold for today as well. It's two different time periods. It's two different cultural periods. And instead of just being able to enjoy the movie and the art for what it is, you have to pick it apart and add in, modern day philosophical views and politics into something that was not designed to, be put up against that lens.
Right.
Even when Disney was doing, I don't know if they still are, because but when they, if you went and watched Aladdin, they had a warning.
Right.
Like, first of all, don't insult your audience. Your audience isn't a bunch of idiots. Like, they don't need that hand holding. Right?
Right.
Second of all, it's a cartoon from the early 90s, and I don't think anyone with any shred of a brain cell is going, oh, this is an accurate depiction of people from the Middle East. Get the fuck out of here with that shit.
Exactly. That's my whole point, is that, you don't understand the movie. You don't understand the times that when the movie came out. It's just one of these things that it's like,
it's a nothing burger article.
Right, it is. It's just it's a rage baiting type of article, because you're going to get a ton of people to call you out on it.
Right,
but you're getting interaction
for the sake of clicks.
Right, exactly.
Agree 100%. I see them all the time. 11 problematic films or whatever, and it's just like, the thing is someone that loves movies, I think that, you should be able to go back and look at these movies, which are really, kind of a time capsule in and of itself of the times that they were made. I'll watch something from the 80s, and if it's done right, I get that same feeling.
Right.
That, like, I'm like, wow, man, this is kind of what the 80s was like.
Right.
I mean, it's Hollywoodized, but, like, this is kind of how it felt. And never at any point am I sitting there going, like, well, this was bad, this was bad, this was bad. Like, no. You know, we all have our moral compass and everything, and especially in modern day where things are clear and everything. And it's fine to not be okay with the things that happen on screen, but to sit there and write a fucking 10-page article about how, you know, oh, you could never make this movie. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Right. Exactly.
Terrible.
Yeah. What do you got?
All right. So mine is I think the internet has completely killed the mystery in movies, TV, and gaming.
Oh, without a doubt.
I think that leaks are the worst thing to happen to us, you know, probably ever. Because what it does is I'm just so, you know, the algorithm latches onto leaks. People want to see the leaks. They want to post the leaks. They want to retweet the leaks. And entertainment is just worse because of it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. You know, back, like I like watching pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And back when it used to be a lot of times where they would pre-tape it, right? The internet would post it, right? I would never, ever go in and look at spoilers.
Right.
Because when I watch it, I want to watch it.
It's like if you miss a sports game,
yeah,
you don't want to know what the final score is.
No, like I don't want to go into any of these things already knowing everything about it. I want to take the ride.
Right.
I want to go on the roller coaster of what it's supposed to be, how it's meant to be. And I don't want to know everything about every aspect of it and then have some preconceived ideas in my head that might ruin the entertainment value that I'm getting.
Right, and now you're getting plot leaks, you get casting rumors, you get post-credit scenes, you get set photos, you get Rotten Tomato scores.
Yep.
If there's cameos, they're going to show up on TikTok.
Yep.
And I think, you know, people aren't experiencing entertainment anymore. They're monitoring it.
Right.
And it fucking drives me nuts.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That couldn't be any more 100%
you know what, though?
accurate.
I'm guilty, too, because I read them.
You know, I try not to, but you can't avoid it.
They're everywhere.
Right. Like, if you go
That's my point. That's my point is, like, the thing is I remember when, like, Pirates of the Caribbean 3 was filming, right? If you wanted leaks, you used to have to go to a leaker website. Right?
Yep.
Like movieleaks.com, I think it was, or something. And, like, you would get your leaks from there.
Right.
And they would be nowhere else. And now it's like you open up Facebook and they have the post-credit scenes for the latest Marvel movie.
Right.
That somebody sat in there with a shaky cam and filmed. And it's just, it sucks. It absolutely sucks.
And that's part of and that's part of why the movie-going experience is dying, is because
there's no mystery to it at all anymore.
Like, okay, if I know everything that's going to happen, why do I, if I really want to see it, I guess I'll spend the money. But if I don't, and if I was on the fence and I get all the spoilers, well, now I don't need to spend the money on it. I know what I know what I'm expecting now.
So that's what we got for Off the Cuff this week. All right, let's get into the watch list.
Okay. All right. You want to go first on this one?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So I only have I have two this week, actually. So I watched The Greasy Strangler.
I do not know what that is.
It is a very strange film.
Okay.
So I guess it's a horror movie.
Okay.
I don't know if I can recommend it, because, like, it's one of those ones that's, like, so incredibly bad that it might slide into actually being good.
Okay.
It's gross. It's fucking insane. It's poorly acted. And like, you know, I think they wanted it to be like that. Is
Sure.
the vibe that I get from it. If you come across it, I think it's on. I want to say it's on maybe HBO or
Okay.
something. But if you come across it, it is just the strangest fucking movie. You know what I would equate it to? It's almost like a gross horror movie, sort of Napoleon Dynamite in its
Oh.
absurdity.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Sure,
Like,
sure.
you know how Napoleon Dynamite was just that very odd, sort of offbeat humor?
Yep.
It's very much kind of like in that vein, except it's horror and you know, gross out type of shit.
Okay.
So that was the first one. I'd say if that interests you, I would say stream it.
Okay.
You know, because you know, I jumped the gun a little bit. We rate these as see it if it's in theaters, stream it or skip it.
Yep.
Right. I would put this on the line between stream and skip.
Okay.
You know, if you got an hour and a half to kill and it's something that you wanna check out, give it a stream.
Okay.
You know, it's an odd one. Every now and then it still pops into my head, and I'm
Nice.
like, what a fucking movie. The second one I watched was the Super Mario Galaxy film.
Oh, okay.
And so it's an absolute stream. Absolutely.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Here's the thing about it, right? It's definitely a kid's movie.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
through and through. It looks gorgeous. Like the animation
Yeah, yeah.
is fantastic. Like it's as good as you're going to get.
Right.
It's a nothing burger plot. There's nothing going on
I think
there.
that's
So-
everybody's opinion of that. Yeah.
But the thing is like, you know, the game is about jumping on fucking turtles. Like,
Right.
What story are you going to tell?
yeah,
Right?
exactly.
It has a lot of fan service. It has. I laughed out loud a couple of times. Like it's cute. It's a cute, fun movie.
Yeah,
you know.
that's all that mattered. No one
And that's
needed
the
a
thing,
deep
is, like,
story for a
the
kids
thing
movie
is,
like
is
that.
I read some of those reviews and people are like, "Oh, Mario's lost its magic." No, it fucking hasn't. I think it is just as strong, if not stronger,
well,
than the
it's
first
going to be another
one.
$1 billion movie, so
Right.
it's lost nothing.
Right, right. But you know how they get.
Yeah, of course.
It was good. It really was. It was a fun little ride. Like, you know, is it something I'd watch again? No. If we weren't doing the podcast, is it something I'd watch? Hard to say.
yeah.
But I think if you have kids, absolutely stream it. If you love Nintendo properties, I think it's worth a stream just for, again, the music hits, the cameos hit.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of nostalgia. Like, it works for what it is.
Nice.
I mean,
Nice.
you know, is Chris Evans the best Mario voice?
No, Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt, I mean,
Yeah.
no. I think he's I think he's washed out as it is.
Sure.
But he's passable.
Yeah.
Overall, very enjoyable.
Nice.
I'd say I'd give it a strong stream.
Cool. Excellent.
What do you got?
All right. So I caught this movie called Dustbunny. Have you heard this one?
I've
Have you
heard
seen
of
this one?
Dustbunny.
So I had not heard of it, and it just
That's
came
with,
out on
Mads
stream.
Mikkelsen, right?
So it's
Yeah.
got Mads, it's got David Dalmakian,
Yep.
it's got Sigourney Weaver, right? I'm thinking it can't be bad,
Yeah,
right?
strong cast.
Don't stream this movie.
That's a skip.
It's an absolute. So
Wowzers.
Dustbunny, I thought, was an analogy for gangs. I thought Mads was a hitman. Mm-hmm. There's a young girl who thinks there's a monster under her bed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I heard the premise was.
Her adoptive family gets killed. Right. So she's hiring.
Mads to,
almost like
take
the
them out,
professional, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Exactly.
No, the Dust Bunnies are
They're monsters.
Yeah. So there is a Dust Bunny monster and gangs.
Oh, so it's both.
It's both.
No, you got to pick.
And it's like it makes the movie made no sense. And it went nowhere. It did nothing. It just, as much as Mads, great actor, tried to make it something.
You can only take it so far.
I would say skip this movie. It just was not good. The other movie I saw the new Red Sonja movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm going to say skip this one.
Double skip.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing about the Red Sonja movie.
Yeah.
The killings, the brutality,
Spot
was
on.
good.
Yeah.
Was good.
Story
was terrible.
Yeah.
Acting was terrible.
Wow.
Everything about it was awful.
So they have a solid FX guy, and everyone else is an amateur.
Yeah. And it's one of these where it reminds me of the newest Hellboy, right?
Yeah.
Where it was like it could have been there, and there might have been a piece that was almost like I said, like the
newest
killing
Hellboy
was
really towed the line,
Yeah.
right? Because it had a very comic book feel to it,
Right.
But I think the way it was cut together, the pacing was very odd. Clearly, it was low budget.
Yeah.
The newest Hellboy had that sort of, at least in my opinion.
And this is very
Same type of
reminiscent
thing.
of that. Yeah. So, when I say skip it, I'm saying it's not a good movie, but if you're a comic book fan, if you're a fan of Red Sonja, it's not going to hurt you to watch
So that one
it.
kind of sits on the.
Yeah, it sits on.
That's sitting on the fence.
Yeah, like I
between-
can't recommend it as being good.
Right.
But
If you got an hour and a half to
right,
kill.
exactly.
Right.
I'll say that much for it.
All right, so that's the watch list for this week, and then let's hit our listeners with the pulse. So for our pulse question this week, what major franchise do you think is closest to completely burning out its audience? MCU, DCU, Star Wars, Fast and Furious, Jurassic Park. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. All right. That's today's episode. Jim,
Nice.
as always.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming
Pleasure.
on. What's going on, man?
Just getting the art out. Check out the socials. Stop on by every single week. There's some new artwork. Leave a comment. Leave a like. Be really appreciated.
You know where we're at, guys. CatalystCrafting.com is the main website. Catalyst Creations NH is the Etsy store. We're going to be at Wicked Comic Con in Boston on May 23rd. And let us know. Let us know what you guys think. And we'll catch you on the next one.